You've learned how to communicate concisely. You've mastered poise under pressure, learnt how to read the room and ask better questions, and discovered how to lobby strategically. Yet you're still invisible. Not because you're not communicating well, but because you're communicating in isolation. My lovely, lean in and listen up. The truth bomb is your network is infrastructure for influence. Without it, even brilliant communications goes nowhere. But here's what the neuroscience reveals. The most influential leaders aren't the loudest in the rooms. They're the ones with the deepest relationships. And relationships create the neurological foundation for everything else you've learned. Welcome back, my lovely. I'm Sue-Ann Higgins, and this is the Strategic Leader Within podcast. We've reached episode 32, the final episode for our Conversation and Influence Mastery series. And it's also the bridge into something bigger. Over the past 6 weeks, you've learned how to communicate concisely. You've mastered diplomatic poise. You've learned to read audiences and ask better questions. You've discovered how to lobby strategically before you make the ask. And you've moved from over-explaining to strategic clarity. The final episode in this series brings it all together in a way that might surprise you. Because here's what I've learned from coaching hundreds of women leaders. The most influential leaders aren't the ones who communicate brilliantly in isolation. They're ones that have built relationships that amplify everything they do. Your network is the infrastructure for influence. It's the ecosystem that carries your ideas, amplifies your voice, and creates opportunities before you even know they exist. And yet many of you are invisible in your networks, not because you're incapable, but because you haven't been intentional about building relationships. Today, we're going to fix that. We're exploring the final piece of the conversation and influence puzzle, network intentionally. And we're preparing you for what comes next, a 6-episode series on brand presence mastery that builds directly on this foundation. Let me introduce you to the 2 try-harder traps that keep leaders invisible in their network. The first is the busyness trap. This is a self-limiting trap where you're focused on getting work done. You're so focused on that you don't have time for relationship building. You keep your head down, you deliver, you assume that's enough. You tell yourself, I don't have time for networking. I have too much work to do. But here's the neuroscience. When you isolate yourself in work, your brain never develops those neural connections, those neural networks needed for strategic thinking. Your default mode network, that part of the brain that does the big picture thinking, requires downtime and social connection to activate. Isolation doesn't make you productive. It makes you less strategic. The next trap isn't try harder trap within the leader within methodology, but it's just something I've noticed. It's that transactional networking. You're reaching out to people when you need something. You network with them with an agenda because you're calculating who can help me, who should I know. I need to have coffee with them. And people feel it. Mirror neurons are sophisticated. They detect when you show up with an agenda versus showing up authentically. When you network transactionally, you trigger threat response. People are cautious. They're thinking, what does she want from me? Not, how can I help? This keeps you isolated. And both these make influence invisible. Let me help you assess where you're on the Savviness Ladder for intentional networking. If you're on rung 1 or 2, you networking consistently. You attend meetings and events, but you feel awkward. You don't have a system for building the relationships. You operate in isolation. If you're on rung 3 or 4, you know networking matters, but you do it reactively. You reach out when you need something. You feel like you're bothering people. You're not consistent. If you're on rung 5 or 6, you intentionally build some relationships. You have coffee occasionally and you're becoming visible in some circles, but it's still spotty and you revert to isolation when you're under pressure. If you're on rung 7 or 8, your network is deliberate. You have relationships across departments, across industries, and you contribute to conversations. You're known. If you're on rung 9 or 10, your network is diverse and deep. You're the connector. You amplify others. Opportunities come to you because your presence is known. Which rung are you on right now? Answer it honestly because it will give you an idea of what to do next. Let me show you what it looks like across the different rungs. We're going to call this one Mary, the isolated deliverer, rung 2. Mary is brilliant at her work. Her projects deliver on time, clients are satisfied, but her network is small. She knows her direct team. She knows her boss. And beyond that, she's relatively unknown. When an opportunity comes up, a new product launch that needs cross-functional leadership, her boss doesn't think of her. She's not visible in those circles. The opportunity goes to someone else that's more networked. Mary feels frustrated. The project was perfect for my school, she thinks. How come I didn't know about it? It's because she was isolated. Her network was too small. Let's go to rung 5 and 6, and this is Mary, the intentional networker. Mary has deliberately built relationships across the organisation. She grabs coffee with people outside her team. She contributes to other people's team meetings and industry conversation. She's visible in strategic meetings, not because she's been invited, but because she's built relationships with the decision makers. When the product launch comes up, 3 people automatically recommend her. She wasn't looking for the opportunity, but her network amplified it. Mary gets the project because she was visible. Now we're on rung 8, and Mary is the connector leader. Mary doesn't network to get opportunities. She networks because she genuinely connects with people. She amplifies others. She introduces people. She contributes ideas to conversations outside her role. Because of this, the network doesn't just know her, they advocate for her. They bring her opportunities. They invite her into conversations before decisions are made. Mary's influence extends far beyond her because her network carries her voice. I work with 2 primary power moves for intentional networking. Power move number 10 is be more intentional. This is about deliberately architecting your network, not in a manipulative way, in a strategic way. Here's what it looks like. First, identify your 3 circles. Your inner circle is people in your organisation who influence decisions in your field or industry. They are the decision makers, the strategists, people who want to be known by. People you want to be known by. Aim for 3 to 5 people. Your middle concentric circle is peers and colleagues, people you collaborate regularly with. They might not be the decision makers, but they're important to your day-to-day work and your visibility. Aim for 7 to 10 people. And the outer circle is your broader professional community, industry contacts, people in your field, people that you consider thought leaders, people that you've met at events or online. Aim for about 20 plus people. Second, be intentional about how you build each circle. For your inner circle, For your inner circle, you don't want to network randomly. You have deliberate conversations. You contribute to strategic decisions and you make sure they know your thinking, not just your work. The middle circle, you show up consistently, you're reliable, you contribute to conversations, you collaborate without an agenda. For the outer circle, you stay visible without effort. You attend events, you engage in industry conversations through LinkedIn or whatever other medium. The point is that you're present. Third, recognise the intentional networking isn't about transactional conversations. It's about being consistent and genuinely present. Power move number 28 is the gratitude note. This is relationship stewardship piece. Every week, write a gratitude note to someone in your network, not a generic thank you, something specific, something that shows you've been paying attention. It might be, seeing them in an article or seeing them in a post online. Just say to them something like, I remember how you handled the difficult feedback in the meeting last week. The way you stayed curious instead of defensive. That's something I'm still learning. Thanks for modelling it. Gratitude notes do three things. They acknowledge the other person. That activates positive neurochemicals, dopamine and oxytocin. Basically, they feel seen. Second, you deepen relationships without agenda. You're not asking for anything. You're just acknowledging them. And third, they're counter-culturally. Most leaders are so busy that they never express genuine. Third, they're counterculturally, so they'll get noticed because most leaders are so busy that they never express genuine appreciation. When you do that, you stand out. Let me explain what happens neurochemically and why this is so important. Your brain has what's called a social brain. It's the systems that processes relationships, trust, and belonging. When you're isolated, the system atrophies. It starts breaking down or breaking away. When you're connected, it strengthens. When you build genuine relationships, your brain also releases oxytocin. That's a bonding neurochemical. This does something interesting. It actually increases your prefrontal cortex capacity. You literally think more strategic when you're relationally connected. When you network transactionally, you trigger threat responses. Cortisol rises, your amygdala is on alert. The other person's prefrontal cortex is offline and they're in defense mode. But when you network intentionally, when you show up with authenticity, without an agenda, you activate a vagal brake. This is the parasympathetic nervous system. People relax. They trust. They engage. This is why the most influential leaders aren't the loudest in the room. They're ones with the deepest networks, because relationships create the neurological foundation for influence. Here's what I want you to do this week. Step 1, map out your 3 circles. Who's in the inner circle, who's in the middle circle, and who's in the outer circle. Write them down. Step 2, identify one gap. Is the inner circle too small? Is the middle circle disconnected? Or do you need to expand your outer circle? Which one is your biggest gap? Step 3, identify 3 relationships to deepen this month. Not networking events, one-on-one conversations, coffee, lunch, video calls. Step 4, write 3 gratitude notes this week, not to people you're trying to influence, to people you genuinely appreciate. Thank them for something specific. And step 5, show up authentically in your network. No agenda, no calculation, just genuine presence and interest. The breakthrough happens when you shift from how can this person be of help to me to how can I contribute to this relationship? That one shift changes everything. As always, I'm going to give you some AI prompts that you can use in the authorized AI tool that your company may be using, such as Copilot, M365 Copilot, or ChatGPT, if you've got that on your phone. And if you're an insider, you can go to the Time Liberator in the Leader Within Blueprint. This Time Liberator shows you how to protect time and build relationships. It'll analyse your calendar and workload and identify routines or tasks that could be delegated or batched so that you can spend time building those relationships. But for those that are not an insider yet, here's the prompt that you can use within your preferred AI tool. ChatGPT or my M365 Copilot works well. You can copy and paste the prompt from the show notes. There's a link below. The prompt is, I just listened to the podcast episode about networking intentionally. The power moves I learned are power move 10, be more intentional. Power move 28, write a gratitude note. Based on the Leader Within method, I believe I'm on Rung, and then state the rung that you're on the Leader Within Savviness Ladder. You can get that download by using the link below, and then you attach it to the prompt so that it knows the ladder and can help diagnose a bit further. So the prompt again is I'm at rung X, whatever rung you're on, the Savviness Ladder for this skill because, and then explain what you do and why you think you're on that rung. Then you continue and ask, can you help me, one, confirm that what this rung typically looks like for intentional networking? Two, help me map out my 3 circles, my inner, middle and outer, with specific names of people I want to build relationships with. 3, give me a networking roadmap for the next 90 days that will help me deepen my key relationships authentically. And 4, help me see what the next rung would look like for intentional networking. Keep it conversational and practical, not generic. Don't just give me generic networking advice. Again, you can copy and paste that from the show notes. Next, let me help you see what this looks like in life, in real life. I'm going to talk to you about Jennifer. Again, not her real name for confidentiality purposes, but she's a brilliant operations manager. She's capable, competent, and completely invisible. Jennifer spent 60 hours a week delivering excellent work. She had no network beyond her immediate team or her boss, and she wasn't known in her organisation. When a higher paid role came up, the exact role that Jennifer wanted, she wasn't considered. She wasn't visible to the decision makers. She felt stuck. She thought if she worked harder, people would notice. But working harder wasn't the answer. Building a network was. We started working on Power Move 10, being more intentional, and she identified key people that should be within those circles. Then we worked on authentic presence. She started attending meetings outside her direct role, and she contributed ideas. She didn't network, she genuinely engaged. That, along with the power move of writing a gratitude note, she started expressing genuine appreciation of other people that were within her circles. Within a few months, she was visible in those different circles and her ideas were being discussed. People knew her and knew her thinking. So the natural progression for her was to get the role that she wanted, which she did not because she was more capable, because she already had proven that. It's just that the right people had visibility of her. Now I want to talk about what's coming next. This series of the Conversation and Influence Masterclass has been a 6-part series, and it's been about how others experience you when you communicate. It's about being heard, being seen, and having ideas. But there's a larger capability that builds on everything you've learned. It's called strategic leadership presence. And it's our focus of our next 6-episode series starting next. Presence isn't about self-promotion. It's about being clear what you stand for, how you want to be known, and how your unique perspective creates value. Your network is the infrastructure for that strategic leadership presence or your brand presence, because your brand presence isn't created in isolation. It's created through how you show up consistently in those relationships. When you've built an intentional network, you have amplifiers, people who understand your thinking, people who will advocate for you, people who will carry your ideas forward. That's strategic brand presence in action. So this week, build your network intentionally, show up authentically, deepen those relationships, and get ready for the next episode when we go deeper into what it means to build strategic leadership brand presence as a woman leader. As I wrap up this series, I want you to remember something fundamental. Conversations and influence isn't a skill you practice in isolation. It's a skill you practice in the relationship. Your network is where your influence actually happens, because influence isn't about being brilliant. It's about others believing you're thinking enough to carry it forward. You've learned how to communicate concisely, stay poised, read audiences, lobby strategically, and engage intentionally. Now use these skills to build the relationships that will amplify everything you do. Thank you for spending time over these last 6 episodes with me, my lovely, for being willing to show up differently, for being willing to think differently about how you communicate, how you influence, and how you show up in your network. Remember, you're only one reconstructed thought away from the breakthrough you deserve. And sometimes that thought is simply, my influence extends as far as my relationships allow. It's time to build them intentionally. Until next episode, when we dive into strategic brand presence, keep communicating with clarity, passion, and purpose. Lead intentionally, build authentically, and amplify generously.